Alrighty, everybody. Good morning, everyone. Happy Friday, March 13th. I just realized today's Friday the 13th. What's up, guys? Good to see you all. Hope everyone's having a beautiful, beautiful morning. So we got kind of a nasty update this morning, unfortunately. We are looking out for, unfortunately, a little bit more severe weather potential. As SPC has issued a couple of new risks here. But we'll be getting into that here in a few moments once everybody joins in here. But anyways, hope everyone's doing good. Good to see you. What's up, Ace? Good to see my friend saying, let's see, as someone in Central Arkansas, this sucks. Indiana and Illinois has been getting hit hard these past few days. Yes, absolutely. It has been quite nasty over the last little bit. We've been having quite a bit of severe weather, since really we turned into March is really when we started seeing a lot of stuff. So, let's see here. What's up, Aqua? Good to see you. Saying the storm on Sunday reminds me of the Edmund Fitzgerald storm. I hope everyone stays safe. Absolutely, my friend. Good morning, Aqua. Good to see you. But anyway, so for today, we're not really seeing anything today. Storm-wise, we do have a general thunderstorm threat for Florida, but when do we not? Here for tomorrow, being Saturday, we don't have really anything either. But going into Sunday's where we're going to start having problems again. So SPC, we have our new day 3 outlook here. SPC has already issued a level 3 threat, enhanced risk for severe weather here. So we definitely need you guys to be keeping an eye out there for, some severe weather here. Now, we do have that including areas like Indiana, central lower Indiana, southern Illinois, western Kentucky, northwestern Tennessee, northeastern Arkansas, and southeastern Missouri in that level 3 enhanced risk here already. So that's going to be our main area here for storms as of now for Sunday. But then, of course, in terms of the probability and stuff, there is no exact breakdown as of right now, but we do have an overall 30% chance probability of severe weather. We do have a hatch risk area here. So, yeah, definitely going to need to be weather aware on Sunday. But unfortunately, it goes into Monday as well, as the SPC has actually put a 30% risk for severe weather here going into Monday as well. So we got to keep an eye out for Sunday. We have that enhanced risk, and we already have what's equivalent to a enhanced risk here for day 4, which would be on Monday. And believe it or not, that actually includes like the DC area out here in the Mid-Atlantic we're talking about. So definitely got to keep an eye out there for that. Let's see here. Agua says getting ready for high winds here in Kentucky. Yeah. Here, let's actually pull it up real quickly. We'll actually bring up the models real fast. Here, we'll do max accumulated wind gusts here. This is from the American GFS model. Oh yeah, definitely going to be seeing quite a bit of strong winds here. Actually, you know what? We're going to be seeing some gusts in some areas here, possibly up to 50 or 60 miles an hour, according to the GFS here. Here, let's pull up Euro. We'll even compare it with that. Yeah, it's good to get a little bit of a comparison there. Whoa, dude. Euro actually shows like maybe even 60 to 70 mile per hour wind gusts over here. That is actually pretty crazy. I'm sure we have a lot of high wind warnings in effect here. Let's check those out real quickly. Yep, there they are. High wind warnings in effect. 30 to 40 miles an hour, gust up to 60 expected. Let's see here. That's definitely quite significant here. Yeah, I mean, we do have these wind advisories also for portions of Kentucky, but we have high wind warnings for areas like Michigan, like, pretty much central lower Michigan, northeastern Illinois, central northern Indiana, and bits of central, northern, and western Ohio. Actually got high wind warnings out in effect here. Holy cow. Yeah, up to 60 miles an hour or so. So, yeah, models definitely do pick up on that. In terms of the strength of these wind gusts here. Let's pull up our sea level pressure. Definitely want to see that. So it's because of the pressure change here. Yeah, we actually have a really strong low up north here. Let's make it where you guys can see this maybe a little bit better. There you go. Yeah, I mean, look at those ISO bars, man. They are really compressed. I mean, really compressed here, showing that the pressure is changing quite quickly over a short distance here. Wow, man, that's crazy. What's up, Dusty? Good to see ya. Saying, how bad do I think it'll get for North Alabama? What, the winds or the severe weather potential? Because we do have a threat for Northern Alabama coming up here for Sunday. Sunday. Here, let's pull up our. There we go. We'll pull up our SPC risk here. So, yeah, you can see that we do have Northern Alabama included. Level 2 threat here for Sunday. I mean, really, the entire state of Alabama is actually under the risk here. Here, let's change up the map so you guys can kind of see what we're looking at here. There we go. We'll actually put up the town names and stuff. Yeah, we got areas like Huntsville, Russellville area, and the level 2 severe weather threat here for Sunday. We got areas up by Montgomery, Birmingham, Dothan, and the level 1 threat here for Tuesday. And then, like I said, then we go into Wednesday. Or why am I saying Tuesday? Sorry, Sunday. Then we go into Monday. We have Monday in that 30% risk area here for Virginia, North Carolina, a little bit of South Carolina, a little bit of Maryland too. So, but here, let's actually we'll do a bit of a dive into models, and we'll see what we kind of have here. So we'll remove day 4. We'll remove max cumulative wind gusts, and I guess we'll move the mean sea level pressure as well. I think we should be within the range of the RRFS model. Okay, let's go back to 6 Zulu, and we'll pull up the composite reflectivity here. You're in Russellville area? Gotcha. Let me pull it up real quickly. Russellville, Alabama. For some reason, why is it bringing up Turkey? That's weird. Do you have a zip code for that? If you have a zip code, it'll make it a lot easier for me. Anyways, let's see what we got going on here, though. We'll put the composite on top here. So, oh, yeah, look at that. Wow. Wow, man. Yeah, we got RRFS starting to show us what this line could look like. Goodness. So, yeah, I mean, it does look like just a big, long line of storms here. Big old QLCS. Timing starts off in the evening. It'll continue into the overnight hours, actually, as well. Goodness. Here, let me pull up the, first of all, let me actually lower this so we can still see it, but we don't want it to be too bright. Let's look at our moisture advection. We'll pull up our dew points here. So, I mean, it looks like we're going to have, decent moisture advection. Oops. Here, let's pull up my personal color table. There we go. Dew points will be in the 50s and 60s. Wow, man, that is a classic cold front. Look at that. That is impressive. Yeah, so you can see, all this moisture advection, all this air coming up from the Gulf here. So if you play down in time, you can see all of it coming up from the Gulf. And this is bringing in a lot of moisture. And then, of course, we actually have another low that's actually going to be bringing down, some more of that dry air from up north. And then, you have these two air masses here. You have this area here. This is your cold front. You have the cooler, drier air mass over here. And then you have the warmer, moisture-filled air mass over here. That is, wow. That is, crazy. But, yeah, moisture, it doesn't seem to be anything crazy, but it'll be enough. It'll be enough moisture. No 70-degree dew points, though. At least for these guys up here. Towards the coast, maybe, but... Anyways, definitely a pretty good amount of lift with that cold front, though. So we got the lift, we got the moisture. Let's see here. What is the outlook on how low the pressure is going to get? I'm pretty sure last night's when I checked. With the severe weather system or the wind system that's coming through. Here, I'll pull up mean sea level pressure. We'll look at it. This is the RRFS model. Yeah, we have a lot of pressure changes coming up soon. Here, we'll just make this one color so you guys can see, and we'll make them a little bit thicker so you can see the ISO bars here. So for the first system, this low that's rolling through, the one going over the Great Lakes, the RRFS shows the pressure getting down into the kind of upper 980s, which that's a very strong low. The next system that comes through, the RRFS shows it maybe in the upper 980s, lower 990s. Yeah, even outside of the the line here. There's going to be that big change in pressure, which we're still going to be feeling some pretty strong winds. Even outside of the line. So, let's see here. All right, Dusty, I got you, man. Here, let me pull up your zip code real quickly. We'll see what we got going on. This is up in Alabama. Oh, that's right. Yeah, you're up by Russellville. Got you. All right, so yeah, I mean, day 4 we do have here. Let's hop you guys over here. Day 4 we do have a hatch risk, acidic level 1, but I don't think they have. Well, obviously we don't have the breakdown quite yet for tornadoes, hail, damaging winds, but we do have a slight risk level 2. I mean, that's really about all I can tell you. Good morning, Kim. Good to see you. Good morning, guys. Just went 12 for me. Gotcha. Well, hope you're doing well, Kim. Do I think I'll start streaming and covering for bad weather? That's what I've been doing, Dusty. I mean, literally, look at what I did yesterday. We covered 5 hours overnight. Can I make it warm in Virginia again? I don't have the power to change the weather. I wish I did, but unfortunately I do not. But I tell you what, though, since you're here, Dad, I do want to show you something. Let me bring you back over here. So, remember that risk I was telling you about yesterday? They upgraded it. You can see this big line of storms. You're over here. Eventually, this line of storms will come through. Now, models kind of show it breaking up over Virginia. Maybe maybe even scattered, scattered cells popping through. But we could have a pretty big severe weather threat for the Mid-Atlantic. But yeah, they did actually add a level 3 risk here for Monday. It'll be on Monday. Yeah, so if you bring up the SPCs for Monday's risk, there you go. Yeah, they actually included a lot of the DC area. Prince William County goes through Richmond. You got Virginia Beach. I mean, goes all the way down even in the North Carolina, up by like Raleigh. But yeah, I mean, it could be a pretty bad day on Monday. But the way that the models has it, it's just a bunch of scattered storms. For a lot of other people, especially on Sunday, it's just one big line. But it seems like the line breaks up. But breaking down the atmosphere, still really good amount of wind shear, strong kinematics. We are seeing a lot of instability, or enough, I should say. Actually, not a lot of instability, but there's enough. Moisture advection's good. We have lower 60 dew points. Could definitely support some strong to absolutely maybe some severe storms. Honestly, though, the instability is kind of low. It is kind of low, which is interesting. Here, let me go back a little bit. This is for Monday at 11 a.m. Let me try this sounding here. Huh, really interesting. See, my bad, I didn't see it. You're good. Let's see, don't want bad days. Have a great day. You too. I'll talk to you in a little bit. August says, yeah, I'm right outside the enhanced risk. Bowling Green, Kentucky. The winds are going to be insane with the storm system, I think. Yeah, well, Agua, one thing I will tell you is, not just with this system, but we also have a lot of strong winds coming in today. We actually have another strong low we were just talking about over by the Great Lakes. You can see that pressure down into the upper 980s. Definitely quite a strong low. But so we have the first system roll through. That rolls out. High pressure builds back in. And then we actually get another low that develops here. I mean, you can really see just how tight these isobars are. Really showing you that the pressure is changing a lot over a short distance. And, because of that, that's telling us that we have quite a strong low, essentially. So, yeah, I mean, we're definitely going to need to look out for it. I really think that Sunday will be a pretty good day for severe weather here. Let's grab some more soundings. I'm going to grab one out there. You said by Bowling Green, right? What's up, Squashy? Good to see ya. Hey, we'll grab a sounding for Bowling Green area. This is for 11 p.m. on Sunday. Dew points in the mid-50s. Got a bit of dry mid-levels. Possibly could support some hail growth. Let's see. We have really good. Wow, we have a lot of strong wind shear. I tell you that. We have a lot of really strong winds. I mean, even our lower level shear is pretty high. Pretty high. Yeah. Yeah, definitely need to keep an eye on this. I think the main threat will be damaging winds, probably. Let me try just ahead of right on the inflow of that storm. Yeah, dew points right up to that storm could be in the 60s. I tell you what, though, the sheer strength of that low is really going to allow for those shear values to be quite high throughout the atmosphere. Dusty says, well, I got to go. Stay safe all, and y'all have a great day. So y'all stay safe. You too, Dusty. Thanks for joining, man. Have a great day. But yeah, that is something else. That is something else, man. Yeah, we'll just really have to see, like, whenever the, what is it? The HRRR, we start getting a lot more, like, views upon the HRRR, then we'll be able to kind of see where the models agree and disagree on. Because, just looking at one model is not always the best thing to do. But we'll see. We'll definitely see. But if you guys have any questions, let us know. Do not hesitate to ask here. Here, let's bring up our lower level shear. We're going to bring up, we'll bring up 850 millibar height, which that is, what's 850? That's about 4,000 to 6,000 feet or so, something around there. What's up, Blue Ridge? Good to see you, my friend. Holy moly. Whoa. Talk about a lower level jet. Sheesh. Wow. Here, let's remove our ISO bars. I'm going to try not to overload this too much. Wow, dude, look at that. That is unbelievable. What day is this for? Sunday. We're talking about Sunday, which SPC has already an enhanced risk here. Yep, so this is Sunday's risk. And then, of course, then we have Monday. Monday, we actually have another 30% area for the D.C. area, going through Eastern Virginia, portions of Lower Maryland, into Central Eastern portions of North Carolina, and then, of course, kind of Eastern South Carolina. Dude, this lower level jet, according to the RRFS, I mean, this is showing like a 70 knot lower level jet. I mean, that is a screaming lower level jet. I'm a little concerned, honestly. I mean, having wind shear this high. What is our? We'll do 700 millibar wind speed. We'll see what that looks like. So the 700 millibar is about 10,000 feet up, roughly. Yeah, there is going to be a lot of wind shear. I mean, kinematic-wise, comparing to the last event, this event coming up for Sunday has more stronger wind shear than the last event. I just hope that there is not going to be a lot of instability here. Let's do mixed layer cape here. It really doesn't look, though. See, there is good news. It doesn't look like there's going to be a lot of instability up this high. There's going to be enough, obviously, for severe weather, but comparing to last event had more instability. Last event had less wind shear, stronger thermodynamics. This one has weaker thermodynamics, stronger kinematics. So, wow. Yeah, man. Let's hope there's not any more instability. That's really the limiting factor overall. Let's see here. Squashy wants to know, can I check on a zip code? I woke up, didn't check the models for Monday. Yeah, I got you. Got you, my friend. Here, let me pull this up for you. You are... Okay, you're actually outside of the 15% risk. You're by Philly. But I tell you what, though. I mean, that 15% is not far from you. Not far from you. The short-range models don't reach out this far yet, given it is day 4. It still is a little ways away, but I can pull up global. We'll do GFS here. Global's not always the best. I'll tell you what, though. GFS really doesn't show a lot of instability for this event. I think that instability is going to be the main limitation for this event because, I mean, the wind shear, we have a lot of really strong wind shear. Those winds throughout the lower, mid, upper atmosphere are very fast, very strong. Crazy. But we'll see squashy. I mean, I really want to wait and see what kind of what the short range models look like. But yeah, GFS doesn't show much here. Let's do most unstable cape maybe. We'll pick the most unstable layer rather than distributed. Let's see here. What's up, Monster? Good to see you. Let's see. Stormy says day 3 is over convective QLC with possibility for prefrontal supercells. For a brief period, day 4 is a real threat. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely likely going to be just a big long line of storms here. Definitely. Like we mentioned here, I mean, this seems like a really high sheared environment, high shear, low cape. We have enough moisture advection, but it's not as strong as the last event. The last event had better moisture content, better instability. But this one has better wind shear as opposed to the last one. We're definitely going to have some really strong lift. This is quite a potent front here, quite a powerful front. Let's see. Guys, left or right? I'm playing a game and it's up to luck. Right. Dusty says I was your 400 sub on my other channel. Hey, thanks, man. Appreciate it. You don't know how long I've been on 399 on that channel. It's crazy, dude. I've been at 399 subs for like the last I don't even know, like the last week. What's up, Oversteer? Good to see you, man. Can I check on Jonesboro, Arkansas? I know I'm in the enhanced risk, but do I think my area will get upgraded? It's too early to talk about upgrades. Or will they take me out of the enhanced? It's really hard to say, man. I mean, the models, there seems to be quite a bit of disagreement here. Here, let's bring back up our 06 UTC run here. Now, models do show, so let's pull up Jonesboro. So you're up in northeastern. So, I mean, there's definitely enough moisture for the event here. I mean, we're seeing dew points in the 60s out this way. A really strong cold front. I mean, you could literally see the two air masses, the dry air mass and then the moisture-filled air mass here. There's your cold front. Now, here, let's just grab a sounding. Soundings are the best way just to see the big picture at all levels, basically. There's a good amount of instability here, enough moisture, really strong wind shear. Wow, look at that photograph. This is actually a pretty nasty little sounding. Effective inflow layer, 410 M2. That's, yeah. So definitely really strong wind shear on that. That's what kind of concerns me the most is how strong of kinematics we have. Strong wind shear, decent cape, enough moisture. I think damaging winds and tornadoes would definitely be a concern in this environment. That would be your main threat. I mean, I definitely see why they would have you in the enhanced with the soundings that look like that. Absolutely. Let's see here. At 5 a.m. I had to wake up because my dad. Oh, that's not good. Yeah, I heard there was quite a bit of snow yesterday behind that front. What do I think about prefrontals? Let's see what this model suggests, but we shouldn't just rely off of the one model. This particular model shows, of course it shows that big line going through. It does show a couple prefrontals. I wouldn't rule them out, but I wouldn't fully trust just seeing one model. You know what I'm saying? One model, one run. Let's just wait to see what the HRRR says whenever we start getting that. Which this is 66 hours out. So maximum HRRR range only goes out to 48 hours. So tomorrow night we should be able to tell you. Let's see here. Hello. Good to see you, my friend. Hope you're doing well. Let's see. Is the 72417 in the enhanced risk? Let's see, Brooklyn and Northeast Arkansas. Let me see. Here, let's bring you back over here. We'll pull up your zip code here. I believe you are. Yeah, yeah. This area is in the level 3 threat. It's actually out by the Jonesboro area. We were actually literally just talking about this region. Yeah, I mean, I definitely think this area could be in for, quite an event here. Some strong storms. Damaging winds, tornado potential. It is a level 3 enhanced risk. Now, like I said, I'm waiting to see I'm waiting to see more of the short range models. Right now we're kind of limited on short range models. Like the only model that we have right now is the RRFS that's able to go out this far. That's a short, high res model. Then you got models like the GFS. Let's see here. Here, let's go back maybe a little bit. Yeah, this is after the front here. Here, let's just grab a sounding right here. This is the GFS for Sunday. Not as much instability. It's still a good amount of wind shear, enough moisture. Yeah, I mean, I definitely want you to be weather aware out there. A lot can change between now and then, given that there is a bit of disagreement still between these models. And, really once we start to get a lot more data, a lot more model runs and more models to be running, then we'll know a bit more. But yeah, we'll definitely keep an eye on it. I do need you to keep an eye on that system. So that'll be on Sunday. Let's see. Blue Ridge says it'll probably turn to rain by the time it hits here, but hard to say. Where are you at specifically? Or like, you don't have to answer that, but what general region if you want me to look at it, because you got to remember this will go into the Mid-Atlantic as well. So this will definitely go into the Mid-Atlantic. SPC right now does have, let's see here, the day 4 outlook here, where we do have that 30%. Yeah, that 30% risk here. Oversteer says, I do feel like this could uptrend for instability. What makes you think that? A lot of it depends on lapse rates. Basically, the rate at which the temperature drops with altitude, typically per kilometer. It depends. It really depends. Here, let me grab another sounding out here again. I want to look at those lapse rates. Lapse rates are pretty decent. 700 to 500 millibar lapse rate, 7.5 degrees Celsius per kilometer, which is pretty decent. Typically, once you have those lapse rates in like 6 or pretty much like 7, 8 degrees Celsius, that's when you start to have some pretty steep lapse rates. Yeah. I don't know. It's not just reliant on lapse rates for CAPE either. CAPE is calculated based off of lapse rates for one. That's a big part of it, and moisture. Moisture has a big part to do with it as well. Let's see. I say we'll see some wind. So I'm in Tri-Cities, East Tennessee. Oh, gotcha. Yeah, I mean, day 4 doesn't have East Tennessee in the risk here, but day 3, yeah, day 3 it doesn't either. You're kind of you're kind of in between. Let's see here. It does look like it might break up a little bit. Hey, let's just grab a random sounding up here ahead of the front. Ooh, ugh, I don't like those lower levels. At least surface-based storms would have a big problem with this. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. I mean, that is pretty much in the morning time. The sun would be, just starting to come up here, and there's likely going to be maybe a bit of a cap in the lower atmosphere that could really hurt those storms quite a bit. But then once we get diurnal heating, heating up the surface, you have increased lower level turbulence and stuff like that, steeper lower level lapse rates, and that'll help contribute to a better environment for storms to actually fire off in. Let's see here. Oversteer says, I'm going to be honest, I'm not too sure, but we are still pretty far out, and there could be either downtrends or uptrends, you know. That's true. That's true. Yeah, it just depends on where the models take it, really. You know, that's what I was saying. It's like I really want to see the HRRR. I want to see where the HRRR takes this. You know, because this is just the first few runs of the RRFS and the extended range mode. You know, you should never look at one model, one run of a model. You need to look at multiple models, multiple runs to determine. So, absolutely. Absolutely. But one thing I am seeing as a kind of a common denominator between the GFS and the Euro is a lack of instability. You know, it really seems like there's not going to be as much instability. But the wind shear, though, you know, that's what I was saying is our wind shear is going to be pretty hefty. Here, let's pull up our 850 millibar winds again. Yeah, I mean, our lower level jet, according to this, the RRFS model here, this is for 11 p.m. on Sunday. I mean, this just ahead of the line here, up by like Indiana, Kentucky, the lower level jet could be 60 to 70 knots or greater, which, you know, that's pretty crazy. I mean, that's a speedy lower level jet. See, I sure will. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. No problem. No problem at all. We shall see what happens, I guess, man. Yeah, only time will tell. But what I can tell you is that, you know, what the SPC has, and what's really important is that we already have some pretty big risks already issued from the Storm Prediction Center. So we have a level 3 threat here for Sunday. Here in the orange region, this is the enhanced risk. So this includes northeastern Arkansas, including Jonesboro, extreme northwestern Tennessee, western Kentucky, southeastern Missouri, southern and kind of a little bit of southeastern Illinois, central southern Indiana. This is where we do have the, you know, the enhanced risk here. So that's going to be the hot spot for Sunday for now. Then we have the level 2, which, you know, the slight risk is still a pretty decent, you know, risk for severe weather potential. Absolutely needs to be watched if you're in the slight risk as well. And even the marginal, you know, that level 1 threat. So level 1 threat for severe weather in the dark green, level 2 in the yellow, level 3 in the orange. Now, remember the light green, this is just saying, hey, few thunderstorms possible. You know, nothing, not expected to be severe, but could see a couple thunderstorms. See that EF3 to hit Jonesboro, destroyed stuff 1 mile from my house. Overseer just woke up. Whoa, that is crazy. I'm glad you're okay, though, my friend. That's wild. Oversteer says, if anything, though, the way with the wind shear is either going to be a tornado outbreak, if we get more instability, cells in front of the line, or if it's lacking a little instability, QLCS spin-ups. I think the severity will increase dramatically if we have a pretty big increase in instability. I do. You know, we don't need any more wind shear, given what some of the guidance suggests. I do want to compare, though. You know, this is the RRFS. Let's see what the GFS shows with that lower level winds. Yeah, GFS still shows a good 50, 60 knot lower level jet. What about Euro? Let's see, Euro. Yeah, Euro is kind of in agreement as well. Maybe 50, 60 knot lower level jet. This is at 850 millibar height, which to people want to know in feet equivalent, that's roughly about 4,000 feet. Or is it four? It's either 4,000 or 6,000 feet, somewhere around in there. It's lower levels though. Let's see here. But anyways, but yeah, we'll definitely keep an eye on it. You know, there's enough moisture as well. Here, let's just remove everything here. We'll hop back to our dew points. We'll do our 2 meter dew point. Yeah, so we like to really measure our moisture content with our dew points on the surface, because you got to think, for thunderstorms, basically what's going on is you're taking that warm, moisture-filled air that's in the lower atmosphere towards the surface and shooting it up into the atmosphere, into the cooler environment above. So surface data is very important for determining what the storms are ingesting. And looking at the dew points pretty much tells you how big of a tank you have for moisture, because the higher the dew point you have, basically you have a bigger tank. You can hold more water vapor in the air. Warmer air holds more water vapor than colder air. And, having a warmer dew point indicates that your capacity of holding more water vapor is greater than if you were in a cooler environment. Typically, the sweet spot for severe weather is 60, 70-degree dew points. Because that ensures that you can hold a lot of moisture. And the problem is that in the upper atmosphere, as you go up into the environment, the air cools. And so that incoming warm air that is holding a lot of moisture, as it cools down, can no longer hold that moisture it once could. And because of this, your humidity goes higher and higher and higher till it hits 100%. And once that hits 100%, that means the air can no longer hold any more water vapor at all. And what happens is you get basically you start getting a lot of condensation. So basically you start condensing, turning water vapor into liquid water droplets. So, and the heat released from that, we call this latent heat, can actually enhance convection. So that's really important to consider as well. Latent heat release and stuff like that. But my takes on this event is, from the guidance that we have right now, a very high wind sheared environment. You really need 4 big ingredients for severe weather. You need moisture, you need instability, you need wind shear, and you need lift. A lift, you basically just need to get the warm air off the ground into the cooler environment, above. Then you have the instability, which we measure in CAPE, which is convective available potential energy, mostly reliant on lapse rates, temperature, which, are basically the rate at which temperature drops over altitude. Lapse rates are very important. So basically saying that, if you have colder mid-levels and really hot lower levels, there is a big change, in those temperatures. And basically the more aggressive that rising air would be, essentially, because, it's a lot more steeper. I'm not trying to get too confusing here, but I'm just kind of breaking down from what I'm seeing here. So out of the event, we have a lot of wind shear. And what I mean by wind shear is just simply a bunch of strong winds changing directions with altitude. That's just wind shear, just how much, basically, yeah, wind speeds, wind directions throughout the altitudes is wind shear. And what I mean by strong wind shear is that the winds are very strong. They are very strong. Not just from the ground level, but also from the ground to the upper atmosphere. So that actually enhances storms because it allows them to become pretty organized. You got to really separate the incoming warm air, the updraft, that warm air going up into the air. You need to separate that from the air that starts sinking back down. You need it to be kind of a continued cycle. And if you start ingesting cold air into your updraft, it starts to fall apart. And so by having wind shear, it ensures that storms are efficient, and they are likely to be longer lived. Anyways, sorry, I'm getting a little bit too a little bit too deep into it. So Andrew, will the ingredients be pretty solid for our area? Kinematically, yes. Yeah, wind shear wise, yes. There's a lot of really strong wind shear. Check that off. Moisture advection. Yeah, I mean, our dew points are reading into the lower 60s from most models. So that's a good amount of moisture. You got the moisture, you got the wind shear, you got the lift. I mean, it's a really strong cold front. I mean, you can really just see how strong this is. I mean, it is such a huge drop off. So basically, you have that warm, moisture filled air mass being overtaken by the cooler, drier air mass. That continental air mass. So you have lift, you have wind shear, lift, wind shear, and moisture. But yeah, one of the big ones is instability. That's kind of where there's a big question mark in the models. A lot of the models really, a lot of the models really have not a whole lot of instability. I mean, not comparing to last events that we've been having. Now, if we see a significant uptrend in instability, meanwhile retaining our kinematics, this could be pretty decent. It could. If we improve our moisture content, higher dew points, if we have stronger instability, then it could play out to be a pretty decent event. I mean, already the way it's looking, it likely will be a pretty decent event here for Sunday and Monday. But at least in theory, given the environment. But yeah, we'll just need to see. And like I said, I just need to see more data. I need to see more information, not just from GFS, Euro, or RRFS, but I want to see like the HRRR come through. I want to see the couple of runs of that and all that. That'll really kind of help overall. I want to look at lapse rates. It should be under thermodynamics. Let's see here. 700 to 500 millibar. That's mid-level lapse rates, pretty much. From 700 to 500 millibar. Let's see here. What about RRFS? I don't know if this shows. Oops, model thermodynamics. Lapse rates. Near the 3 kilometer. Okay, that's pretty much surface and lower levels. Lapse rates are very important. Like I was saying, lapse rates, what we're looking at now, basically lapse rate is just the rate at which temperature drops off over altitude. So we usually measure this in degrees Celsius per kilometer. So going into sun, there you go. So there's that overall. So here's our lapse rates. These are our surface to 3 kilometer lapse rates. Mostly between 5 and 6 degrees Celsius. Kind of lower end, but we do have a few pockets with steeper lapses. You got diurnal heating, which heats up the surface very quickly. And increases the rate at which temperature drops over altitude. Let's see. Well, I hope you're live about once HRRR comes in. Oh, absolutely. I will be. Of course. What's up, Oliver? Good to see you, man. It seems like we are seeing a stronger, more severe pattern for past 5 years, similar trend back. This is my opinion. Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, you have your storms that come through. Talk about steep lapse rates. Wow, 10 degrees Celsius per kilometer. Now, those are really steep lapses. Yeah, I mean, if we start seeing steeper lapse rates, higher instability, that will definitely increase severity of the event. But like I mentioned before, I mean, it's already lining up to be a pretty decent event from what it looks like. But I think the main limitations for the event is mostly instability. Second, probably moisture content. And then third would be really nothing. Because our wind shear is like perfect, for strong and really, really bad events. Having a lower level jet of about 60 to 70 knots, that's considered pretty high. And it seems like a lot of the models like GFS, Euro, agree of at least upper 50, lower 60 knots wind shear in the lower atmosphere at 850 millibar height. So that's really fast lower level winds. Squashy says, I honestly wouldn't be surprised if they expanded the risk on Monday more north. It depends on that moisture advection, really. You got to ensure that your surface is really primed. Yeah, because I mean, the further north you go, the lower the dew points are, and the less moisture the air can hold. The more moisture, the better for storms. And of course, the closer you get to the Gulf, being closer to that body of water, you're going to have higher amounts of moisture content. Let's see. You honestly don't think it'll downtrend? We'll see. I mean, time will tell. What's up, Misty? Good to see you. How about north of St. Louis for Sunday? How far north we talking about? Like northern St. Louis? If we're talking about St. Louis themselves, we do have a level 2 threat for Sunday. Yeah, SBC has a level 2 out for you guys. There is no breakdown right now for day 3. So I can't give you like an exact probability for tornadoes, hail, damaging winds, but collectively, that puts you in a 15% chance of any severe weather. So any risk collectively. So yeah, I mean, you're in an area we definitely need to keep an eye on. Sunday would be the day. Now Monday, we also mentioned that there's going to be a threat for severe weather, not for you, but further east here. Let's see here. What's up, James? Saying, see, I hope that we're just having an early start to 2016 and won't be. Let's see, every week. Thanks for the update. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, I mean this month's been pretty active, man. Just starting off as soon as we hit March, I've mentioned this a lot on the so far, but as soon as we hit March, dude, it's like nature is like, all right, here we go. So it just started throwing us event after event after event. But we really have, it's just back-to-back events, man. It's crazy. It's crazy. But, it's almost spring. It's almost spring. I mean, I think we're getting a bit of an early start this year. But anyways, yeah, hopping back to looking at our moisture. As we go into Monday here, you can see the areas up north, by the Ohio Valley, our dew points are only going to be in maybe the mid 50s, which, I mean, in theory, yes, could definitely still support some surface-based storms, but usually not as potent as, say, opposed to a more higher moisture environment with dew points in the 60s. So obviously, the further south you are, the greater the moisture content there is. But the higher north you are, the better the kinematics there is, the wind shear there is. So you got to really find that trade-off point. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty good. I mean, there's definitely a lot of wind shear here. This is our 850 millibar wind shear. This is our winds about 6,000 feet up or so. Then you got like the RRFS that suggests, our lower level jet being maybe 60, maybe 70 knots, while GFS and Euro kind of agree on about 60 knot lower level jet. So, there's a little bit of disagreement, but, having that lower level jet of that magnitude, that's very strong. That's very strong. And in theory, say if there was higher instability, greater moisture advection, and having this kinematic environment, yeah, that could really favor some nasty storms. So what I want to do now is I want to go up in the altitudes a little bit. So we're at 6,000 feet, and I drew an arrow. You might have noticed. We're going to go up a little higher. We're going to go up to 700 millibar height. So this is about 10,000 feet. So we're gaining altitude of about 6,000 feet. So this is going from about 4,000 feet we were just looking at to now about 6,000 feet. Now, one of the big things I want to point out is now look at the way that the wind direction is moving. You can actually see that the wind direction is kind of going more to the northeast here. Now, this would be like your classic veering um, lower level setup here. So basically, what we're learning is that the higher you go up in altitude, the more that the winds are changing to the northeast. Now, as opposed to how strong the winds are comparing between both layers, there's not a big difference. The winds would be roughly moving about the same speed between 4,000 feet and 10,000 feet. But the big change is the direction at which the winds are flowing in. This is very important for tornadoes. Just having that veering lower level pattern can definitely create some rotating storms. So that's what I'm saying. With this particular setup, how strong the winds are throughout the lower levels, and that veering, how much the winds are changing with altitude, mostly directional. That tells me that this is a really good environment for like tornadoes, just given the kinematics, just the wind shears, just the wind shear wise, essentially. So you can check that off. That's 100% in place. But then we look at the most unstable cape here. This is the instability. Then you see that we have MU cape, the most unstable layer, with values under 1,000 joules per kilogram, which, generally speaking, 200 to 500 joules per kilogram is not a lot of instability. It's not. Is it enough for storms? Yes, it is. It could absolutely fire off some storms. And you could have a couple areas where basically the instability could be locally higher. Some micro environments that the models can have a hard time picking up on. So in theory, you could have pockets of higher instability. And the same applies to wind shear as well. The kinematics, you could have pockets of higher wind shear and stuff like that. But at least as far as it goes from now, really, there's not a lot of instability for this event. But if that number starts increasing, then the severity of the event would definitely increase quite a bit, I believe, personally. So we'll just have to see. We'll just have to keep an eye on it. Let's see here. I just realized it's Friday the 13th. Yeah, it is. That's crazy. I feel like we just had a Friday the 13th, not too many months ago. I literally said that like as soon as we went live here this morning. I was like, wait a minute, I think it's Friday the 13th. But yeah, so really strong kinematics, strong wind shear, low instability, relatively low instability. Our dew points are good enough. We're talking upper 50, lower 60 degree dew points, which is enough. So moisture's there, kinematics are there. Instability is iffy, and we have a lot of strong lift here. Overseer says, what do I think about the enhance for Sunday expanding a little bit further south into southern Arkansas? It's a good question. So the further south you go, like Arkansas here, there's definitely going to be stronger moisture content. Our lower levels, we're going to have higher dew points. The capacity of how much water vapor the air can hold will be increased. Instability wise appears to be higher. It looks like I was looking at the lapse rates. I was paying attention in Arkansas. It seemed like there is steeper lapse rates, at least lower level, 0 to 3 kilometers, which absolutely can enhance instability values as well. Having steeper lapse rates absolutely contributes to higher cape values. It's not a one-to-one thing. It's cape is, like I mentioned before, more of a mixture between lapse rates and moisture content. That's what really kind of helps determine potential energy. There is more instability down here. However, the wind shear is a little lower. So it's kind of a trade-off, as you can kind of see. You trade off down here, it's more instability for less wind shear. Up north, it's um, a trade-off for higher wind shear for less moisture and less instability. It's weird, and then you got to find like that Goldilocks zone where the best mixing ratio is. But anyways, to answer your question though, at least what the RRFS suggests. Now remember, like I said before, this is one model, this is one run. This model in particular suggests higher amounts of instability. Our dew points in the lower 60s, which is perfect. Good amount of moisture content. Our wind shear still seems to be pretty high. But do I expect the enhanced to be extended southwards? I mean, obviously, I can't tell you yes or no for sure. Our lower level kinematics are not weak, but they're not significant either. Meanwhile, our upper level winds are actually still really strong. You can definitely see the higher cape here. Looking at our skew T here. Definitely a lot more. There's a lot of instability. Our mid levels are fairly dry. Lower levels are fairly moist. Got a pretty big dew point depression, 62 dew points to 76 dry bulb. And you know what? Actually having a greater dew point depression, basically just your temperature minus your dew point, whatever that value is, that's your dew point depression value. But the greater the dew point depression actually can enhance damaging winds, which is something we need to look into, which increases decape, stuff like that, which damaging winds would possibly be a decent concern here. Tornado-wise, for this particular sounding, would be pretty low. It wouldn't be zero. It'd be pretty low. But, I really can't answer your question as to yes or no if it will extend down into, like I said, a lot of that depends on trends, as well as, just kind of basically just the more model data we'll have, the better we can determine what is the more likely scenario. And by doing such, as we get more model data, as we get more information, we'll start to, the outlooks will start to evolve, with the models. So we'll see. I mean, we'll just have to see. I mean, there's no way of being for sure at this point. But what is for sure is that, I mean, the system's going to exist. We know that. The system will exist. Multiple models suggest it. There is a lot of strong kinematics. Models support that. Decent moisture advection. All models support that. We are already at the point where we're confident where the models do support this system existing. So that is without a doubt that's going to happen. There's no way it's not. We're confident enough that we have these risks here. So for Sunday and Monday. So absolutely, by no means should you ignore them. Because we know it's going to happen. We know it will. But we're just trying to kind of figure out the magnitude at which the severity of the event. So, anyways, we had one in February, one on Friday the 13th. I thought we had a Friday the 13th here not too long ago. See, I do kind of feel this could be an Arkansas event, kind of. That's how last event was Illinois. You know what I meant? I could be wrong though. I feel like that's ingredients are. For now at least, yes. I do think that some of the best ingredients do mix together in Arkansas. Yes. Like I said, it's a bit of a trade-off though. There is higher instability in Arkansas, but at the expense of less wind shear. Although our moisture content is better too down here. So yeah, I think so. I think right now Arkansas does look like a decent spot for severe weather. And could it extend down into Arkansas? Sure, it could. But if models start pulling away from it, then that chance will lower. A lot of it has to deal with a lot of it in which what we know now what could change in the future, between what we know now and what could change in the future could be totally different by the time we get to the event. That's what I'm trying to say. But I'm also saying that we have enough I have an idea between the models of what we can roughly say will be quite possible. Anyways, well, if I got to get productive, I'll be listening. Just wanted to say thank you for the in-depth weather forecast today. You're very welcome. Thank you for the $2, by the way. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Is it Regina? Is that how you say your name? If I'm saying your name wrong, I really apologize. I'm not good with names, but thank you so much for the 2. I appreciate it. Thank you. But yeah, we'll definitely keep you guys in the loop with everything. You guys know I'll be here to help you guys. We'll keep you guys in the loop with everything. See, I did subscribe. Also hit the like. Well, thank you. I really appreciate it, my friend. If we get more instability uptrends, do I think this could go moderate? In theory, yeah. In theory. See, I know you don't know, but based off your thoughts, I mean, bottom line, that decision is up to the Storm Prediction Center. As you know, I have to give the disclaimer. That's up to the Storm Prediction Center. That's up to how these models trend over the next few days. But from what we know right now, if this stays consistent to what the models are suggesting, like kind of what the RFS suggests, due to the increased amounts of instability in that region, still a local good amount of wind shear, and great moisture advection, strong lift, I think it's possible. It is. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's not a simple yes or no. It's really not. I would say it is possible. I would. But that's from what the models are saying now. You know what I'm saying? So we'll just have to see. It really just comes down to how these models will look in the future. So here's our instability, and you can really see. I mean, this is for 8 p.m. on Sunday, and you can see that some of our highest instability is obviously down here. This is actually where we were seeing those really steep surface to 3 kilometer lapse rates of actually like 10 degrees Celsius per kilometer, which is ridiculously high lapse rates. That would definitely encourage stronger vertical velocities, for a given air parcel to rise. That's why the Cape value is higher. This is the most unstable Cape, so this takes the most unstable layer and displays the energy. But that's why they're higher down here, steeper, lower lapse rates. But as you go up higher, the values thin out a bit. Now there is some instability that works its way up into the Ohio Valley. This, remember, once again, is the most unstable layer, and models suggest that we could have values of mostly sub 1,000 joules per kilogram through Indiana, Illinois, Kentucky. Some pockets of higher instability, but yeah, some of our strongest instability is further south. So you can kind of see, this right here is kind of where we have some of the strongest instability. Now, if we compare, with the wind shear, now pulling up our 850 millibar winds. So the black circle is where we looked at the strongest instability. And you can kind of see that some of the strongest lower level wind shear is kind of up above that. You see what I'm saying? So it's just a big trade-off, essentially. So the blue, that's the that blue circle is where we have the strongest lower level shear. It's not strictly just lower level shear we need to pay attention to, but it's an important layer for sure. Then we'll pull up our dew points. Let's see here. We'll pull up our color table. Some of the we'll do dew points in green, as they should be. some of our greatest moisture content's kind of down in these areas. And, if we look at it closely to where the best mixing ratio is, now remember, this is a rough draw. And there's other factors involved. But it really leads to some of these areas. And if we actually pull up where the SPC's outlook is for Sunday, it includes some of those areas we circled, in the best mixing area. Stronger wind shear could also encourage stronger storms as well. But let's hop back down here for a minute. Let me grab a sounding up in northeastern Arkansas. This is actually kind of where we saw some of the best soundings here. Remember, once again, though, y'all, this is one model run 2, There's definitely some steep lower level lapse rates, but then the environment kind of stops declining for a bit of time in temperatures and then eventually continues back on. So this could actually slow an air parcel. So you get, that rising motion, it starts rising, and then it could slow down once it hits this layer. Not stop completely, but slow down dramatically, and then start speeding back up as we go up. And then it hits the equilibrium level, and then it stops because the temperature of the air parcel equals to the temperature of the environment around it. Therefore, the rising, or the air parcel stops. So, this could be like the thickness of the storm, which could be pretty tall top storms, given this particular sounding, yeah. But, lower level dew points, surface dew points, lower 60s, good amounts of moisture. Really strong wind shear, though. That's the thing about this event is like I was saying, this thing really has a lot of strong wind shear. Matter of fact, the wind shear for this upcoming event, the way that the models are projecting it, not just the RRFS, we looked at the GFS and the Euro as well, and we saw that kinematic-wise, this event could have a lot more stronger wind shear as opposed to the other 2 events that we've had so far this month. So, with that being said, absolutely, that's a little concerning. But I will tell you this, though, this event, from what models are having us at right now, also supports less instability. And our dew points are enough. But, for areas in the Ohio Valley, those dew points are in the mid-50s, which, like I said, it doesn't completely kill surface-based storms, but it definitely is not as good as having, the dew points in the 60s. So, anyways. Let's see here. I'm sorry for asking all the questions. Where do I think it would go moderate, my area? Maybe Kentucky. I can't really say, honestly, dude. Like I said, that's if it even does. And it depends on trends, like we've mentioned before. What the models say right now could be a bit different, which they likely will be a bit different by the time we approach the event itself. It depends, uptrends, downtrends, whatever. And it's also up to the Storm Prediction Center, too, like I mentioned. I don't work for SPC, so I can't make that decision. That's totally up to the forecasters up there. But and it's not just, not just that, but like I said, it's also what the models show us in the future, which nobody knows that. Nobody knows what the models will start pushing out next, so we'll see. If you want to stay accurate, you don't you don't show your cards early, if that makes sense. You just need to be very kind of conservative in the beginning, and then as you get closer and closer and confidence increases, then you lay your cards out and say, okay, here, this is what we're seeing. And then you got people who try to show their cards early and get a big rise, and they're often the ones that are more wrong. Let's see. But anyways, Kaysen says, what do I think for the zip code? Let me pull it up for you. Does that make sense, though, y'all? I hope I'm making sense. All right, let's see. This is up in Tennessee. All right, so you got yourself a so from the SPC on Sunday, you do have a level 2 slight risk here. But given that it is day 3, we do have a or we do not have we do not have any breakdown in terms of exact probability from tornadoes, large hail, and damaging winds. So with that being said, I mean, we are in a level 2 threat. We still need to be weather aware. SPC has already highlighted this area, saying yes, we definitely need to be keeping an eye on it. So you're in a level 2 threat for now. And from the way that the models were suggesting, mostly the models, I mean, at least from like what the RFS suggests, more than likely this will be just a big squall line. Now, will this have prefrontals? Your guess is as good as mine right now. I mean, it's not really a guess, but you know what I'm saying. It's just too early to tell, honestly. I need more data. We need more HRRR, or we need to see the HRRR and several runs of these models before I can make like a fair, a fair assumption. Oversteer says, I kind of feel like they put the enhanced risk a little too far north. Why do you say that? I think it makes sense that they have it up further north because, there's stronger kinematics. I mean, the environment's still capable. There is still pockets of higher instability. While it is mostly sub 1,000 joules per kilogram, still, kind of the kinematics make up for that. The wind shear kind of makes up for that. It more efficiently, what is the word for it? It's more efficient for the storms to have higher wind shear, per se. And given that it is in an environment where there is higher wind shear, it kind of helps, even though the instability is lower. See, what time does the day 2 come out? Not until like later tonight. I think it's like 2, 3 a.m., something like that. You said because the dew points are a little less crazy and the instability is a little farther south. Well, don't get me wrong. I mean, like I said, dew points in the upper 50s, in some cases, I mean, even in the mid 50s, can still support surface-based convection or surface-based storms. Strictly having dew points in the 50s is not a solid cap to say, no, there will not be severe weather. That is far from the truth. So, like I said, there's so many variables. There's so many variables going on. There's so many things that highlights an area over another. I don't know. It's just there's a lot of stuff going on, and it's not just that will lower the risk or whatever. I mean, it could if it's significant enough. Like, say if the dew points were actually significantly lower, then yes, it could absolutely affect the way the storm is. But what I'm saying is that it's not just that will do it. Let's see. You're actually really worried about my area on Monday, Andrew? Nah, man, it'll be all right. I mean, we do have that. Let's hop back over here. We do have that risk here, that 30%, which, I mean, yeah, absolutely, we do need to keep an eye out there for. But I wouldn't freak out over it. I mean, like I said, we'll just kind of have to see how this plays out. There could be a lot of changes between now and then, so. Let's see. Overseer says, I mean, I'm probably wrong. You know a lot more than me, although I'm studying meteorology. Yeah, I mean, it's all right, dude. Just one thing I would recommend is just keep at it. Keep at it. So yeah, it just started actually, and I love it. Awesome, dude. That's awesome. Yeah, man. I mean, if you ever just want to talk about weather, if you have a Discord or if you're in our Discord, you can chat with me. I'm always in the Discord talking about weather. So if there's any questions you'd have or anything, you can reach out to me. I don't care. But yeah, just keep at it, dude. Keep at it. It's cool, and for me, it was addicting. It still is addicting. Like learning more about a storm, and then it leads you to more questions. Okay, well, why does this happen? It's a big cause and effect. Weather, there's a lot of cause and effect, and I don't know, man. It just the more I got into it, the more it made me want to learn more, and then so it's just been this domino effect, where like now I've just been like scavenging to learn even more about weather. I mean, I admit I don't know everything about weather. Nobody really knows about it, or nobody knows about everything in weather. I mean, we're still, as a human species, we're still learning more about weather. Not everybody knows everything about it. Yeah, even to this day, we're still learning about it. Now, but yeah, but it's really cool. The more you learn, the more you want to learn, essentially. Ponderosa says, enjoying the weather report today. I'm glad you are. I feel like I'm going a lot more in depth today. You know? Yeah, no problem, dude. Tabletop says, does it say if we'll be a linear mode or more of a scattered variety for Monday? RFS kind of suggests the line breaking up into more isolated cells for Monday. Now, will that be for sure? We don't know quite yet. So here, let's hop back over to models real quickly. So if I bring up our composite reflectivity, let's see here. Let's do that real quickly. Pull up the composite, and we go to the end of the RRFS run. You can see that we go from a squall, QLCS, which, by the way, whenever you hear me say QLCS or anybody in the chat, it stands for quasi-linear convective system. Literally all it is just a fancy term for a long line of storms or a squall line. Same thing, squall line, QLCS, same thing. But it goes from a squall or a QLCS, and it breaks apart and turns into more scattered convection, according to the RRFS. Now, like I said, this is one model. This is one run. So you shouldn't just let this alone say, make you believe that it will be. That's what I'm saying is I kind of need to learn a little bit more about it. Wow, so this is out by Richmond. This is a sounding I just took from the RRFS, 2 p.m. on Monday. Now, this environment is actually pretty decent. Wow, look at that. Our dew points here are in the mid-60s. Mid-60 dews. That's, our tank capacity in the lower atmosphere is pretty high. Like I said, the higher the dew points, the more that the more water vapor the air can hold, the bigger the capacity of our tank, essentially. The colder the air, like I mentioned this a lot, colder air cannot hold nearly as much of moisture as warmer air. Warmer air can hold a lot more. And so our capacity of how much water vapor can be stored is greater. And that directly fuels storms. Moisture is I look at it as I used to look at it as CAPE as the fuel for storms, but now look at it more as moisture as the fuel for storms. I kind of look at it as moisture being the fuel and CAPE being like the nitrous. If you want to put it in that term. And I look at it as the shear being the engine that drives it. But anyways, yeah, this is a pretty decent sounding though. High shear environment for sure. Old men sit and talk about weather, and old women talk about old men. Actually, an old. Is it really? Tabletop says, "Can I do a sounding?" Yeah, I got you, man. Let me pull it up real fast. So this is, remember, one model, one run. So this is one take. I see a lot of speed shear here. What I mean by that is the winds are mostly flowing pretty much linear. Our hodograph confirms it. You can see that it's just one line, one long line basically, and then it squiggles up towards the upper altitudes because the winds are not really increasing or drastically decreasing in speed, and it changes a little bit of direction, so it starts squiggling at the end. But anyways, definitely at our lower levels, it's just straight. So honestly, this would be not as much of a tornadic environment. I mean, I'm not saying there wouldn't be any tornadoes in this environment. No, I'm saying it wouldn't be as significant as, say, if you had like a sharp hodograph, with stronger veering, stronger backing on the lower levels. I will say this though, our dew points are really high in the sounding. I mean, like upper 60s. That's, like I was telling you guys, the capacity in which the air can hold more water vapor would be pretty high, and dew points in the upper 60s. So the air can absolutely hold a lot of water vapor. You can see all of our cape here. So this is all cape. This is all the instability. And so if an air parcel is to start rising, so say we start getting the cloud that rises and rises and rises, it can because there's enough cape. And then it'll start to slow down and then stop right here. This is our equilibrium level, our EL. Like I said, that's the point at which the rising air's temperature meets the temperature of the air around it. So the pre-existing air that's around this layer, as the warm air comes up to it, it stops because the temperature equalizes, and which is the equilibrium, or the EL. And you can see right there at the EL, that's where we run out of cape. So this would roughly be about how tall storms could be in this particular environment. If this was to occur, if this sounding was observed, that's about how high these storms could be. One thing I also do notice is that our lower levels are pretty saturated. What I mean by that is the humidity is high. So, like I said, you can have 100% humidity at 20 degrees or 100 degrees, and they mean totally two different things, kind of. You guys really say, oh, it's humid outside. What you're really feeling is the dew points being higher and more moisture content in the air. Because like I said, warmer dew points can hold more moisture. And so, those days where you have dew points in the 70s, it can feel really muggy. Same thing, the 60s can feel a little sticky, but then in the 50s, it's not usually as bad. And you could have 100% humidity on any of those, and they'd feel totally different. But besides the point, our humidity is pretty much 100%. So we could honestly assume that at this layer, there would be some clouds because the humidity is at 100% because your temperature touches your dew point. Definitely, there would be a bit of a cloud layer here. But then as you go up in the altitude, this is actually where we have a bit of a spacing between our dew point and our temperature. Humidity would be lower, meaning that the air could hold more water vapor. Whenever we're at 100% humidity, the air cannot hold any more water vapor. So, let's see here. Free thinking! Good to see you, my friend. Thank you for the $10. I appreciate it. Saying, hey, Andrew, how am I looking for Sunday so far? We did get a small tornado the other day. I lost power all day, but I'm blessed to be here. So, let's see. But what is the wind going to be also, please? Free thinking, I'm glad you're okay. You know what? I was, I woke up the next morning after I went to sleep, and I rolled back the warnings, and I saw that you had one, and I honestly felt terrible that I was not able to be live during that, because as you know, I was live a lot. What was that, yesterday? I'm already losing track of time, but yeah, that was something else. We were having a lot of tornadoes pop off, but I'm glad you're okay. It's good to see you. Thank you once again for the 10. And as far as your question says, how are you looking for Sunday? So as of now on Sunday, for your area, we do not have any risk from the Storm Prediction Center. So when it comes to it here we'll pull up our categorical outlook here. Yeah, right now for Sunday, all we have is a general thunderstorm risk, which says, hey, potential for a few booms of thunder. We could have a couple of thunderstorms, but nothing severe, at least for Sunday. Then we go into Monday. The SPC does not have you in the 15% risk, but that risk is east of you. So, as of now, officially from the Storm Prediction Center, you are not in any of these highlighted areas for either Sunday or Monday. Let's see here. Roby, I know that song actually. Sorry, I just total squirreled ADHD moment right there. I'm so sorry, but but yeah, I know that song. I looked over and I saw that comment. But yeah, I do know that song. But anyways, but as far as kind of what the model suggests, so we have the RRFS. Remember, take this with a grain of salt. This is just one model run. We're still kind of waiting for the HRRR to play a role in this here. But from what the extended range RRFS suggests, is that we could see some storms here for the morning hours of Monday. Now, I'm going to grab a sounding. This will tell me kind of what's going on in the atmosphere, multiple different things. So one thing I noticed is that, okay, first of all, I always check out my dew. That's the first thing I look at is look at the dew points. Mid-60 dew points applies good moisture to the storms. So boom, you got moisture. Let's see, our mid-levels are pretty dry is something I'm starting to notice here. Our kinematics, our wind shear is pretty strong, so that could really organize some storms. One thing I'm particularly noticing is that, this the hodographs is not really not like a curvy hodo you'd see on a violent tornado sounding or whatever, but there is a little bit of curvature to it, which I'm not ruling out any I'm not ruling out any tornadoes, but I don't think this would be the main concern. Anyways, but good wind shear, good moisture, good enough instability actually. This is our cape here between our temperature and the parcel path line here. Good amount of instability. Enough for storms, anyways. So there's enough instability, good moisture, good kinematics to definitely support maybe some strong, I'd even say potentially severe storms in this particular sounding. Now, remember, this would actually have to be observed for this to count. And, given that this is long range high res model data, the first run of the RRFS that can actually go out this far, I believe. It might be the second one actually, but still. I want to see more models. I want to see more data. I want to see the HRRR compare with the RRFS. That way we can kind of come to an agreement in which what the models agree on and what they don't. And what they agree on, you keep. What they don't agree on, you throw out the window. But bottom line, to say if this environment was to be observed, then I feel like there could be a couple of strong to potentially severe storms in the environment. So. You also wanted me to look at the wind, which I can absolutely do for you. Let me pull up the accumulated max wind gusts. Now, I do know we have a really strong low actually rolling through the Great Lakes right now, or getting ready to. This is going to cause a lot of winds for the Ohio Valley, the Great Lakes region, and the upper Midwest. But down here where you're at, for the next little bit, not a whole lot of strong winds. It's hard to say exactly how strong these winds will be, for you coming up on for Monday. It's a little hard to say, but those storms that roll through potentially could absolutely produce some gusty winds. A little hard to be for sure exactly, but anyways, so we will keep you in, we'll keep you in the loop with that. It's a little hard to say, how strong the winds from the particular line of storms would be this far out, but we'll keep an eye on it. So, let's see. Don't apologize, it's my fault. No, it's not. You're good. Let's see here. No, please don't feel bad. I had the loudest no weather radio that scared me again. You see, you stayed up as long as you can. Or as long as you can. I'm grateful for that. Never went to sleep. Well, I'm glad you're okay with free thinking. Absolutely. Let's see. Roby. What's up, Scud? Good to see you, my friend. I'm in the enhanced West Kentucky, March 15th. It'll be the year anniversary. My sunroom been taken out by a quick spin up. Really? Wow. That's crazy, dude. I'm glad you're okay though, man. That must have been pretty scary. Mothman says I should talk about the fire weather concern in the light of recent wildfires. Yeah, I mean we do have this really dry air mass that's in place here. Let's pull up our dew points. Our dew points is another thing to look at for determining a dry air mass. Like I said, dew points really kind of show you the how much the air can pretty much hold, how much water vapor in theory the air could hold. But you could just see this dry air mass that's in place. Our dew points in the teens and 20s is very low. So having those dry conditions, dries out the ground. Just dries out the air's dry, and eventually, it dries out everything. Having strong winds can help spread fires. So I mean, yeah, this is really the environment for it. Now, with this cold front coming up here, you can see these two air masses colliding, and the reason they're colliding is because of a low that develops here. You get this low; it drags up warm, moisture-filled air on the east, and it actually drags down more cooler, more drier air from up north. And that's simply because these lows, they spin counterclockwise in the northern hemisphere. In the southern hemisphere it's different. It's called the Coriolis effect. We're not going to get into that right now. I'm really spiraling off into something we shouldn't get into right now. But yeah, this really just mixes up the environment here, and then the low moves, and then the whole environment moves with it. But yeah, I mean, there's really not a whole lot to be said. I mean, yeah, there is going to be fire weather risks associated with the dry air mass, and the fact that there are strong winds. So, anyways, is Ohio due to get bad weather? Ohio, I believe, is in the risk here. Yeah, for what is it, Monday or sorry, Sunday? Yeah. Sunday. So on Sunday, we do have a risk for severe weather in Ohio. As of now, mainly Western Ohio. East Ohio is not in the risk as of right now, which for Sunday, I don't think Eastern Ohio would be in the risk. But yeah, mostly Western Ohio does have a risk for severe weather on Sunday. A level 2 threat, including the Cincinnati area, also including areas like Dayton, Ohio, and Defiance, those areas on the far western side. Columbus is in the general thunderstorm threat, so a non-severe risk area, but a potential for storms. So, let's see. Pretty windy in Wisconsin. Yeah, it's gonna be a pretty windy day for you guys. Because we actually do have a really strong low. I was actually pulling up we'll pull up our mean sea level pressure. You can see just how close these isobars are together. They are crammed. They are absolutely crammed here. So what an isobar is a line that connects areas of equal pressure. Actually, what am I doing here? I need to pull up a single color. There we go. So given that there is a lot of lines that are close together, it tells you that the pressure is changing rapidly over a short distance. Here's your central low. This is the lowest pressure out of the whole system. This is where the middle of that low is. And then you can see as you go out away from the low, these lines, these are isobars. And so they, once again, they tell you, they connect the areas of equal pressure. And so the further you go away from the low, the higher the pressure will be, of course. But given how close and crammed they are, tells you that the pressure is changing rapidly over a short distance. And because of this, that causes the air to flow from the higher pressure to the lower pressure. Now, it's indirectly. What I mean by that is it's not just straight from the high pressure to the low. This comes back into the Coriolis effect, where it actually kind of wraps around the low. And then that goes back to the point of which, these systems spin counterclockwise and all that stuff. But anyways, the main thing to get out of this is that it's going to be windy because of the fact that we are changing pressure so quickly and the air is flowing faster the closer that those isobars are, because of how quickly the pressure is dropping over distance. So anyways, let's see here. LMF says, when I get a chance, can I check on Cadet, Missouri? Do we have anything coming? So, given it's Missouri, yes, we will likely have some activity. Let's see here. Let's hop over here. So, West Missouri is not in too big of a threat here for then. You, my friend, though, you're in a level 2 threat. So this is a slight risk here from the Storm Prediction Center. Now, we don't have an exact probability for the exact potential for tornadoes, large hail, and damaging winds available right now. However, we can tell you that there is going to be a potential for severe weather on Tuesday. Or, why do I keep saying Tuesday? For Sunday. So Sunday, just be weather aware, keep an eye on it. We'll definitely give you guys more updates before then, and I'll probably do some coverage. I don't know if I'll be live for your part of the event. I like to cover the night shift, which I've been doing a lot lately. But anyways, but yeah, so you are in the risk here for Sunday, so keep an eye out there for it. Mainly, I believe it's going to be damaging wind threat. Just potential for straight line winds. See, I was only asking because I live in Brinkhaven, Ohio. Gotcha. Tabletop says, I'm just trying my best not to stress about Monday. Orange highlight area just concerns me. Yeah, I mean, I could understand that. I can understand it, but don't let it bother you, man. Don't let it. Like I said, there's a lot of stuff that can change between now and then. There still is a fair amount of disagreement in the models, and especially because we're just mostly relying on the global long-range models for your particular area at this time. We're still short of our high-res short-range models. We really need I really want to see what those say before we start really freaking out, which, you shouldn't be freaking out regardless, is what I'm trying to say. Don't let it bother you, man. Just keep on going throughout your day as you normally would. Let's see here. Bro, I appreciate you so much. Every time I comment, you always get to my comment. That's why I said I will only ever watch you, man. I appreciate it, dude. I appreciate it. I try to get as many people or get to as many comments as I can. That's one of the things I always try to do is try to talk to you guys one-on-one. There's a lot of people who don't go as much in depth as I think they should with their viewers and helping out directly, which there'll never be a point where I am not looking at your guys' comments. Now, there might be some times where we have busy streams, or as I get bigger as a streamer, to points where it might be a little harder for me to answer you guys all. It can be a little tricky, for some of those busy streams, because I am one guy after all, and doing this all myself. But it's I always try my best. I want you to know that. I always want you to know I try to answer every question I can. Do I think we'll see a moderate risk on March 15th? It's up to SPC for one. It's also up to how these models trend overall. I can't tell you yes or no because that's just impossible to tell for now. Rocket says, let's see, what is going on in my area with the crazy weather? Let me go ahead and grab, let's see here. Let me go ahead and grab a zip code here. You, my friend, you're up in India. Ooh, yeah, you are in a level 3. Yeah, so the SPC does have you in that enhanced risk, that level 3 severe weather threat. Yeah, I mean, definitely need you to be weather aware on Sunday. So, like I said, once again, day 3 outlooks from the Storm Prediction Center do not have the exact probability for tornadoes, large hail, and damaging winds. Although collectively, we are seeing, I believe it's a 30% chance probability for you to see severe weather. Let me confirm that real quickly. I don't want to give you any false info. If it'll load anyways. But anyways, an enhanced risk is a decent risk for severe weather. It is a pretty decent potential for severe storms. I definitely do need you to be weather aware. There you go. So yeah, it is a 30% chance probability of seeing severe weather collectively. But yeah, so definitely keep an eye on it. That's about all I can really tell you as of right now. I'm still kind of waiting on more data from the models. But given the way that we are right now, it is definitely something you need to keep an eye out there for. So let's see. Blue Ridge, thank you for what you do, man. You're very welcome, man. You are very welcome. I'm glad to be here for you guys. Ruby says Andrew's the best, even with a loony like me. Hey, I'm a loony too. Okay, just because I get very serious sometimes about the weather, which as I should. I'm also a loon as well. Once you get to know me, if you don't know me personally, I am a big loon. I really am. So that makes 2 of us, Roby. What's up, Andy? Good to see you, man. Will I go live tomorrow? Yeah, I will. I'm not sure when, but I will. I will definitely be live tomorrow for an update at least. Absolutely. Yeah, I'll try to be here every day. up till the event and during the event, of course. I'll be here as much as possible. Rocket says, thank you. You're very welcome, my friend. You're very welcome. But yeah, between Sunday and Monday, we definitely need to be weather aware. Like I said, if we hop over back to Monday's risk, we do actually have a 30% risk here for severe weather. Also here for Eastern Virginia, Central Eastern Virginia, bits of lower Maryland, including the DC area, Central Eastern, North Carolina, and even a little sliver of extreme kind of northeastern South Carolina here. So that's the level 3. So that's equivalent to an enhanced risk. That's a 30% chance for severe weather. And then, of course, we also have that 15% risk as well, which, is still a decent shot for severe weather. Even into level 2, the yellow areas here. You might be wondering why I'm saying level 2 if there's no level 1 visible, but this is equivalent to a slight risk level 2 on the convective outlook. But regardless, but yeah, that's even also an area we definitely still keep an eye out there for. Let's see here. You're welcome, Rock Cup. Alex says, oh, dude, Andrew, the weather in New Jersey is about to become insane on Monday. I'm waiting for a big thunderstorm. I think I'll get my wish. 30% severe weather on CSU Storm Outlook. Can I look at that? On the CSU Storm Outlook, I do not know where I'd find that, to be honest with you. Are you talking about SPC, maybe? SPC Outlook? But New Jersey, there is no 30% from SPC, but there is a little 15% risk on the southern side of New Jersey. But here, let's hop into models here. One thing I do want to look at, and what I'm mostly concerned about, is the instability. I know the kinematics will be strong. I know we're going to have a lot of strong wind shear here. For the Northeast, as that low does advance eastward. You can see, once again, look at those ISO bars. They are compact, man. They are compact. But anyways, remember, this is one model run here. This is on Monday. I don't know, man. I don't know how much we're going to have. Let's do global. We'll hop back to GFS. See, the GFS doesn't show a lot of instability, though. This is mixed layer. Let's do a comparison with the Euro. Let's just get as much opinions as possible here. Remember, looking at the instability here. You can definitely see, we're going to have some really strong wind shear. We definitely are seeing quite a bit of... Oh, yeah, that's right. There is no... That's right. There is no, mixed layer cape on the ECMWF, at least on this program here. Let's pull up our most unstable. So this is pulling the most unstable layer of instability. Okay, now I'm seeing a little bit of instability here for Monday. Let's see here. We'll pull one for Monday at 5 p.m. Let's just grab a random spot in central Missouri. Did I say... Did I really call New Jersey, Missouri? Oh my gosh, dude. I don't even know what's wrong with me anymore. But anyways, our lower levels are a little iffy. Definitely our lower level lapse rates are extremely low. Maybe a little bit of a capping inversion for that particular sounding. Let's go a little bit further. This will be after diurnal heating. This will be when we'll be having the nocturnal cooling. Same thing. Our lower levels are really iffy. I think surface-based storms would be a bit of an issue in that environment. Possible elevated convection? I don't know, man. I just want to wait and see what the short-range models come to. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. Let's see here. Colorado Storm Center. I don't even ever use that. To be honest with you, I always just go off SPC and just forecast my own stuff. I never use CSU. Let's see here. Roby says, wife's giving me the eye. She has something she wants me to do. I'm sure. Thanks again, Andrew. Yeah, no problem, dude. Good to see you, Roby. Thank you for stopping by. But yeah, honestly, I'm probably going to head off here soon, or here as well, because actually we did quite a long live stream this morning, honestly. We've been live for an hour and 45 minutes just on an update for both Sunday and Monday here. So... But yeah, I think I'm probably going to roll off for now, guys. If there's any final questions or anything you guys have any questions about, if there's anything else you want me to look at before I roll off here, throw them down in the chat. I'll be more than happy to help. But yeah, I think I'm going to go ahead and call it a stream here. We've been live for quite a bit, and So my sleep schedule's been pretty bad lately, so I'm not sure when we're gonna stream next. Whenever it comes to it, I mean, I mostly sleep during the day. I've been up since I think it was like 3 or sorry, was it 2 a.m. this morning? I mean, I haven't been up a whole lot. I'm gonna be up for a while more, but probably the next update will either be A, later this evening if I have enough energy to do it, or B, probably tomorrow morning, more than likely, similar time to today. Thanks for going over this, Andrew. Helps my storm anxiety. You're very welcome. Yeah, that's what we're here for, Tabletop, man. That's what I'm saying. That's the whole point of the channel, is just to keep you guys weather aware and just keep you guys up to date with everything. You know, like I mentioned, I have a strong passion for weather. I've had it for many years, and you know, just being here and just tracking the weather is something I've always done, anyways. And so it's like, yeah, why not help you guys out as well? You know, that's what we're here for. But we're always going to be here to help you guys out, no matter what. And if you're just trailing along for the ride and hanging out with us, I just want to say I really appreciate you all, seriously, for you know, trusting me with the weather forecast and for you know, allowing me to help you guys through these events here. I mean, I just want to say thank you all for sticking around. I really appreciate it. And it means the world to me. It really does. You know, you guys are amazing. I really can never thank you guys more than enough for all the support. You know, I love every single one of you, and I want to do whatever I can to help keep you guys safe. Free Thinking says, thanks again, Andrew. You are very welcome. And thank you, Free Thinking, for seriously all the kind love and support lately. I really appreciate it. You know, once again, thank you for the super chat earlier. I really appreciate it, my friend. It means a lot. It really does. And, you know, it helps pay the bills too. So I really appreciate it. Things have gotten really expensive, man. So it definitely helps. It really does. And I just want to say thank you once again as well for the kind love and support. It is much appreciated. But anyways, guys, we'll go in once, go in twice. If there's anything else I can help you guys with before I roll off here, go ahead and let me know. But yeah, I think we're gonna go ahead and probably call it a stream here. We've been live for quite a while. Like I was saying, it's we were live for you know, a pretty good amount of time this morning. You know, kind of one of our extended update streams. So, but anyways, everybody, well, thank you all for joining. I really appreciate it. If you're new to the channel, consider subscribing. I'm not going to make you do it, but if you guys do want to, consider to. And maybe consider leaving a like on the way out as well. Let's see here. Cass says, thank you. You're a big help. You're very welcome. You're very welcome. No problem. But all right, everybody. Well, you guys take care. Have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day. And we'll catch you guys in the next one. Like I said, I'm not sure if we're going to do an update later today or if we'll do one tomorrow. But either or, yeah, we'll catch you all here hopefully very soon. But I appreciate you guys for joining. Just once again, thank you all for hanging out here with us. But all right, everybody. Thank you all for stopping by. We'll see you guys here later on. So peace out, my friends. See ya in the next one.